Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our weekly webinar. This is Patrick Halstead speaking. I want to thank you all for showing up today and being with us. We have an interesting topic to present today regarding authorization on your forms, and we're going to be, I'm pleased to have Dondi Lambatin with me, who's going to be doing the demo here in a few moments. First of all, though, I'll do a quick question for you. We're going to ask, what version of SharePoint are you using? We've asked this question before, and I just want to get a quick feel for it, given the demo we're going to show today works on all three or all four, but I just want to get a quick idea. It looks like we have about, if you're using both 365 or 2013, you can choose either one of them, and looks like we have about 86% of you, and most of you are still using 2010. 2010 has it by 47%, 47% compared to 26% on 2013, 21% on 365, and just 5% now on 2007, actually now 10%. Okay, well, thanks for doing the quick poll. Today, we're talking about forms with pins. You've got a lot of forms, whether you have 2007 or 2010 or whatever it is. You've got forms, SharePoint forms, and you need to verify that your people are actually the right people when they fill the forms out. So it's easy to use InfoPath with the digital signatures. Actually, it's not easy. You can use digital signatures with InfoPath, but it requires that they use, if you're using the browser, it requires Internet Explorer. It requires that they accept a credential certificate. You have to actually create their certificates. It's quite cumbersome and costly to do this in terms of time and user time, both, and server configuration time. So digital signatures are difficult to implement for most people, and most people do not need digital signatures. Most forms can get by with just a simple PIN signature or a PIN input. You compare the username with the PIN, and you've got at least two forms of verification there. You verify who they are because they've logged into the site or they've logged into the form via their laptop, and you also verify the PIN, right? So they have to have two things, two items to authenticate the form or to show that they're the ones signing it. Glass signatures are great when you're at a Starbucks. You know, you go to your local coffee shop and they swivel the iPad around and you sign it, but they may be informal in a business scenario, and they also, it's difficult for people to sign their desktop because you may not have a touch-sensitive screen. In addition, it's just people sign differently all the time, right? So if you're doing a verification, you really want to verify it's them, and if you just have a glass signature, they could be at somebody's desktop when they're away and they could sign for them and you wouldn't know. But a PIN is a little bit better because it forces them to enter in something that only they know. So we're going to do a simple PIN list today, and that's what the whole demo is about. Once again, it's simple, it's secure, and we have a customizable option. You can add signatures that you've pre-scanned, and none of this requires any code. So without any further ado, I'd like to switch the presenter to Dondi Lambatin here. We're really pleased to have Don here on the webinar today. Dondi, can you verify your audio?
Hello.
Hey, great to have you. So, and we're praying to the Wi-Fi gods in the Philippines. So Dondi's coming from Manila here today. And he's been working on this solution for many months. Actually, we've had the solution already in place. We've spent quite a bit of time this week preparing it for you, and he's going to show this quick demo. Dondi, it's all yours.
Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to today's webinar. Today, which screen are you seeing, Patrick? Are you seeing the PIN verification?
I am. Thanks for asking.
Great. So I'm going to perform a quick demo to show how Qdabra's electronic signature works. But first, We're going to show this form first to, actually this form is a proof of concept to show that the PIN verification system works. So if I click on create a new form here, it's just a simple form. So it's going to show my username. So if I add a wrong password here and I sign the document, it's going to return an error. Now if I use the correct one, hopefully this is the correct password, it's going to show my username and the date and timestamp. So this shows that this system is working perfectly. Now let's move on to the next form, wherein we added the signature. Now why do we need a signature? Well, it works great for forms. It's going to give you a security, authorization, and confirmation from, let's say, a higher management or someone who's submitting his or her timesheet. Now that's just a few of the many uses of Qdabra's electronic signature. So let's try to create one here. Okay, so it's just basically the same form, but we added the a field for the image of the signature, which is in PNG format. So I'm going to put in my password, sign this document, and as you can see, this is my username, the timestamp, and the image of my signature. Now, if I submit this, it's going to submit to the SharePoint site. Now, this works great on for workflows. Now, if somebody receives this and opens it, they're going to see that the form has been signed by me or by somebody else. Now, this is very easy to add if you have a form going on. Let's say, for example, like this. You just need to add the XT here. Okay, let's just move this for a bit. And to add an XTP, you just need to go to the control box, then click on, expand it, and click on the Add or Remove Custom Controls to add the XTP and browse to the folder location where you have it. Right. Now, there we go. Let's finish the wizard. Now it's already added here. Now place your cursors to where you want it to be added on the canvas, and then click on the XCP, and there you go.
For those of you, yeah, that's great, Don. And for those of you who don't know what an XML template part is, these are reusable sections in InfoPath that you can add to your designer to quickly reuse in your forms when you're designing them. And that's what Don just did, is he added a control and then he dragged, essentially clicked it to insert it into the form. And you can see there it says template part. Now this template part is something that we normally provide in our web store for a fee. We're giving it to you today for free. All you got to do is fill out 4 questions, and there is a little bit of configuration. We have a document on this that'll walk you through it. So that's great, Nadia. Anything else for the listeners?
Yeah, I'll just show them that the XCP I added is working. Okay, so I have it running here. So I'm going to type in my username. So this is, I think this is still using the same list.
And you're typing in the username because it's preview mode, right?
Yeah, it's in preview.
Normally, we would get the username automatically from the SharePoint Identity Service in 365, or from Active Directory, or from SharePoint on premises. You can obviously use username as well, and get user profile service is another way to do it. Is it working?
It's not working.
Well, it's a demo. It's a demo. That proves it's a demo. Okay. Well, great. Well, if we have questions, I think we have one question right now. We have actually. I'm going to switch back to my screen. Thank you so much, Don. That was a wonderful, quick demo, and we are taping this for those of you who saw it, but it went too fast. We will be making the quick recording, short recording, available to you on YouTube later. So I'm going to share my screen one more time here, and I've got a couple more slides I want to show. We have a bonus demo today. So way to go, Dondi. That was awesome. You're going to get, there's a bunch of pieces to the solution. You may be wondering, well, I saw the form and everything, but what was behind the scenes? Actually, Dondi, do you mind sharing your screen out again? I'd like to show them the list where you have the pins. I'd like to actually talk about this a little bit. So I'm going to make you a presenter one more time here. You'll have to unmute yourself. I can see that you've already reached escape velocity here. And
okay.
yeah.
Okay. So the pin list.
Yeah, let's take a look at the pin list. So all this stuff is on SharePoint. So it's very simple, and you want to lock these pins down using SharePoint permissions, which is easy to do with the workflow. There's an admin form. Let's look at the admin form for a second there, if we have that. There's an admin form that you use to add the users. You can also have the users use it, and the form creates a pin for them, or edits the pin that they already have. And you can see Dondi's has one. He has one user right now. This is very simple. But this is a scalable solution. We have customers who use this with hundreds of users. You could even use thousands of users. But so here's a really simple form that allows you to change the pin or to insert a pin. And why don't we add my name, Dondi, just for kicks. It doesn't really matter here. So you basically add the users that you want. It would automatically detect the person who's filling it out, so they could add themselves. They type in their pin, and then they could insert an image, a pre-scanned image of their signature, and then they would hit a submit button, which I don't see here. But so you don't necessarily need to finish the process if you don't want to, but that's basically the signature form. And you see the submit there. Thank you very much, Dondi. That was great. Go ahead and submit that one. When that is submitted, let's go back to the list then and take a look at those results. It's going to create, not only is it going to create a row in the pin list, but it's also going to create an image. Now, you don't have to use the image functionality. We have some customers that don't use that because it's too much work to scan in the images. So they just use the pin functionality, and that works just fine. You just remove the image control from your form when you add it. And you can see here that it's just added that. Now, you would have a workflow that's running on this pin list that would remove the item level permissions for everyone and add it back for the user and for the admins. It's a very simple workflow. It just removes the item level permissions and then adds it back for the user and the admin. So that's a quick example. Let's go to the picture list, the picture library, where we have the signatures, and show them that the signature got added there. So when you do have signatures, you can see here that it automatically uploads the image as well. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I'm going to switch back to my screen here and quickly go over those contents again. Okay, thank you, Dondi. So we've got these different components, and these are all in the package that we're going to give you, including a how-to document. It works, like I said, on 2007, 2010, 2013, and 365. There is some configuration, that's why we have the document, but it's not too bad. If you have any trouble, just ping us. We're here to help you. Couple quick questions on this before we move on to the bonus. We had a question from Stacy originally, about 10 minutes ago, actually. She says, I guess it's a she, sorry Stacey if you're a guy. Is it using the Active Directory password? And my answer here, and hopefully you can see that, was that in this example we're using the username function in InfoPath. So it's just using the SharePoint identity, which in this case is the claims token. Next question from Brian. Would you expect the solution to be sufficient in the medical field? No, it's probably not HIPAA compliant, but it works for a lot of forms. So if you got a leave request form, you got a timesheet, a purchase order, it's great to verify that somebody signed. Actually, it really depends on the HIPAA code, and I would expect that you'd need something a little bit more secure, for example, a digital certificate or some kind of a key fob for HIPAA compliance. But yeah, great question. And let's go back to our presentation. We got one more demo for you today. We have a bonus speaker here. So we just did this demo, and Don just performed these 3 steps. He showed you the PIN verification in an existing form. He customized the form to showed you a customized version that pulls in the signatures automatically, and he showed you how easy it is to add to a new form using that XML template part. So I'm really pleased to have with me Jimmy Risch today, who has worked on a new cool feature. We have QRules, as many of you know, QRules is our plugin for InfoPath forms. It also works in Forms Viewer, which is something we're trying to release as well this summer. QRules 7.2 should be out sometime in the next month or two. We've got a bunch of new commands, including this cool new command that allows you to submit your data to a JSON web service, which was up until now impossible, I believe. And Jimmy, I'd like to welcome you to the webinar, and we're going to give you the presenter baton here, and you can quickly show people how that works.
All right, thank you, Patrick. Yeah, so as Patrick just mentioned, nowadays there are a lot of services out on the web that that communicate using the JSON data format. So we figured, given the current state of things, we should figure out how to do that from InfoPath. So we decided to test this concept with supporting tickets to Zendesk. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with Zendesk, it's a solution for tracking work items and things like that on the web. So let's say I wanted to submit a request to reset my password. So here I've got fields for the requester and email. So put those in, password reset, and hello, I've forgotten my password. Could you please reset? Okay, then I'll just hit submit request here and give it a second. Yep, and it's been submitted. The ticket ID is 11, and then I can switch over here to my browser where I'm logged into Zendesk and look at my tickets, and there's my ticket I submitted less than a minute ago. There's the message.
That's awesome.
And here I've gotten an email notification from Zendesk as well. So just to give you all a quick preview of how that works. So basically the idea is that we want to send the data as JSON, but InfoPath's specialty is representing things as XML. So what I've done here in the form is I've basically set up an XML structure that mimics what the equivalent JSON would look like. It's got the comment, body, requester info, the subject, and the ID is what's used when the result comes back. And then over here we can see I'm just using 3 rules. The first one converts that XML to JSON and stuffs it in this field here, the JSON string. The next rule actually executes the command. It executes the web request, the HTTP request, This is a new command as well that we added yesterday. We added 3 new commands. And then once that request is finished, we use one more command to take the result, the response, which is JSON, and then convert that back into XML, and then we store that here so that we can verify that it has finished successfully and get that ID once it comes back. So it's a very exciting feature. I hope that people find a lot of good use for it in the future.
Well, that's great. Thanks so much, Jimmy. That's a wonderful demo. And we'll make this sample available to you today, even though it's using 7.2, which has not been released. You'll get the fresh bits, the beta bits of QRules with this new feature, and you'll get a form that uses it. All you have to do is fill out that really simple 4-question survey at the end here, which we'll be showing you momentarily, moments from now. Very early here in Seattle, very late in Kyoto where Jimmy's at, and Manila where Don's at. We have the full triangularization here of demos today. I want to thank everyone for joining us. If you have questions, this is a great time to ask. Even if your questions have nothing to do with what we showed you, please feel free to ask them. We're here for you. We try to do these webinars once a week. Sometimes we don't quite get to that. We have several webinars. This is what you're going to get today. We'll send you the sample that Jimmy presented as well. We have everything on YouTube, of course. Upcoming webinars, we've been postponing some things here like the timesheets and the project management forms. We're going to get to those. If you've been waiting and waiting and waiting for those 2 demos, we will get to them. I'm sorry about the delays. We kind of demo what we're working on usually, and so this week we're working on that Zendesk example. We're going to be showing you, we may show you the browser perf tricks for large forms next week. That's the goal right now. Typically if you've got a large form with a lot of filtering can cause the browser form to be very slow if you have a large form. Large customer, we have this problem this week. I've got a technique that I can show you to cut down the time it takes the form to display. A couple questions here. Thank you, Shane, for asking a question. I assume that the new JSON command can pull back ticket information from Zendesk on command. That's a great question. Jimmy, do you want to handle that?
Sure. So as I mentioned, we've got the make request command, which is new for making the actual HTTP request. That just gives you a string value, a text value of whatever comes back. And then we've got another command for converting JSON into XML. So essentially the answer is yes. Zendesk will return a response in JSON. You can convert that to XML and then you're all set.
Great question, great answer. Last question from Michael. How do you combat users that do not update their form when prompted? This is interesting. This is kind of an off-topic question. Thank you for asking it, Michael. I'm guessing that you're talking about the filler, because in the browser, they get it if you update it. Next time they refresh their browser, they get the new form. If you're using the filler, and it sounds like you are, they'll get this little yellow dialog that shows up. And if you're in the designer, let's just open up the designer for a second here. We create a new form from scratch. I'm just going to show you where this section is. In case you may have already seen this section, oops, I want to use a blank form here. I don't want the SharePoint list form. And we're having some technical difficulties again as InfoPath. Apparently I've got too many processes running or something. It's trying to connect to the list. Okay, let's cancel that. And let's go back to see my timesheet in the background for this week. Haven't filled it out today yet. Okay, so let's click on blank form, and we're going to take a quick look at these options for updating forms. Let's see here. It's going to be underneath File, Form Options, and then here you're going to have an option for, well, we're going to have an option here for versioning. So on the versioning tab, you can pick whether you want to automatically update them or not, but the users will still get that yellow ribbon on the top. What I like to do to fix that is you could simply query your SharePoint site if you're using SharePoint. You could query the site that has your InfoPath form if you're using a network share, and you're going to query a data connection, an XML file that has the correct version in it. So you can add a version to your form. We have a technique that we've talked about on our forum, infopathddev.com, where you can actually extract the version of the form using a processing instruction. It's an XML path, so there's no code involved, but there is a macro that you have to use. And you would then compare it to the data connection to see if it's the correct one, and that way you can prevent them from filling out the form. We don't get that question asked very often, but that's a great question. So once again, to prevent them from using a filler form with an old version, you need to have a secondary resource that has the version information in it. What you're going to do is and that could be the template.xml file. You're going to load that resource when they load the form, and you're going to compare that resource, which is a network resource, with the form's version. If they don't have access to the network, you can't do that. Anyway, that's my answer, Michael. I hope that works for you. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. We look forward to having you again next week, and we hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks.